engine people. He's one of the most well-known and expert people in social media and how to use social media as a tool out there for your business. I'm going to leave it to him to speak to a little bit more about what the company does and how we can help you. He's going to take you through some examples of PowerPoint stuff here in today's presentation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Welcome, everybody. As Paul said, I'm Jeff Quip, founder of Search Engine People. And I don't want to delve too much into the company because we're not here to learn about our company. We're here to learn about social media. But we are a Durham-based company that does social media professionally and also search marketing. But today, the topic is social media marketing. It's more specifically social and customer service. So how the two of those really work together. And it's really difficult for me to detach customer service from social media because it's inherent in every aspect of social media for the most part, as is using social media to generate business. So if it seems like I'm talking about social media to generate business, it's because I can't detach it from generating business and customer service because they're intertwined. And for reasons that you'll find out in the next couple of minutes. So first I want to paint a picture about what social media is and what social media isn't, because there's a lot of confusion about what it is and how it works. And there's a lot of people selling it as the holy grail. And truth be told, it's not. It's part of the marketing mix and it's a business tool, but it's not the holy grail. It's not going to solve all your business woes. So I want you to think about it conceptually and based on what I show you in the next few slides. So a very wise man was once quoted as saying, "Advertising is a tax for being unremarkable." So think about that for a second. Think about what that means. And this is a quote by Robert Steven, who's the founder of Geek Squad. And what he meant by that quote was, if you've got a product that's truly remarkable, word of mouth will make that product or service successful because people will talk about it. People will share the message from person to person to person until ultimately everybody will know about it. Kind of like that old adage, build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door. Well, if your product or service is truly remarkable, then advertising isn't needed. Word of mouth will carry the message. However, if it's not truly remarkable, then you need advertising. You've got to make people think a different way about your product. You've got to make them think maybe it can do stuff that it can't. And I don't necessarily mean advertising is for misleading, but it's absolutely for helping to get the message out there about your product and getting people to think about it in a certain way. So all that to say is advertising is a tax for being unremarkable. It's about word of mouth. And let me give you a few examples of the power of word of mouth and the power of social media. Google, for example, was launched in 1998. It was launched as a thesis paper by two Stanford University students who had absolutely no funding. So it was grassroots marketing. Yet here we are today, by far the dominant search engine in the world, with over 70% market share in the United States, Canada, even the UK. And it was all done by word of mouth. In fact, most of you probably learned about Google for the first time because somebody else told you to try it out. Or maybe you heard about it on the media saying, what a great tool. But it wasn't advertising that initially brought your attention to Google. Facebook was launched in 2004. 2004. Today, 1 in 10 people on the planet has a Facebook account. Everybody see the movie The Social Network? Well, in that movie, if you get a chance, watch it. In that movie, there's a quote where the one lady reaches over and said, "You got 2,000 hits in an hour to your site?" And he said, "I got 20,000 hits." And what actually happened was people really liked the concept of what he built. So they were emailing each other furiously, saying, "You got to try this out. You got to check this out." That's word of mouth. But it's powered by technology. Twitter, another success story. Again, launched only 5 years ago, maybe. And Groupon. Is everybody familiar with Groupon? Groupon was only launched 2.5 years ago. It was offered $6 billion by Google a year and a half after its launch. $6 billion, and Google turned them down. Google laughed at them. But Groupon is essentially a play on words for those who are unfamiliar with it. It's a combination of group, coupon. So Groupon goes out to businesses and says, we will feature your product on our site if you give if you give those looking at our site a discount, a substantial discount. So the discount's got to be 50% or above. But the deal only activates if a certain critical mass of people take action. So for example, there might be one for Deer Creek Golf and Country Club, for a foursome for golf, and it's 50% off. But it only activates if 100 people buy it or agree to buy it. So it's a group coupon, really, in a nutshell, is what it is. Now, the great thing about this is social media at its best, is everybody wants a deal to play golf at Deer Creek. So they start to share it with their friends. They share it through Twitter. Hey, Joe, you got to see this deal. Take advantage of it. Or Facebook. And so they share it intuitively. And as a result, Groupon was the fastest growing website in the US last year, and that's how it grew so fast. It was social sharing. That's the power of social media. That's word of mouth. So then what really is social media? Social media, it's an accelerant. Truth be told. It is to word of mouth what gasoline is to fire. So if I pour gasoline on a log that's not a flame, what happens? Nothing. If I pour social media on top of a business with absolutely nothing remarkable about it, what happens? Nothing. The flame has to exist. There has to be something remarkable about that company. And that something remarkable can be remarkably good or remarkably bad. I'm sure all of us have heard horror stories about companies that have had remarkably bad stuff about them shared. The same is true of remarkably good. So just in defining social media now, really and simply, all it is are technologies and platforms that permit the sharing of information. That's all social media is in a nutshell. Social media marketing, on the other hand, is how we apply it. It's word of mouth enabled by these technologies and these platforms. Because these technologies and platforms help us to share information faster. Good information and bad. And it's coupled with one-on-one communication coupled by these technologies. Because now, advertising isn't just one way, or communication isn't just one way. You know, if you think back to the 80s, 90s, television it's a one-way medium. You broadcast to us, we have no real means of communicating back with you. Today, though, through Twitter, through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through a lot of other social media, we can interact with a client. So it's two-way. So in a nutshell, yes, Paul?
I just want to comment, that's actually a really great point in terms of the TV thing. AMC, really popular channel, they're pumping in some really excellent series. They have a Facebook page, for example, where they immediately after a show completes, such as, I don't know if everybody's watching this, it's kind of a creepy show, but there's a show called The Walking Dead. The moment the episode that they're airing finishes, they go on, their staff go on and say, what did you think of our show tonight? I've been watching the show religiously and loving it. I'm barely on for 10 seconds, and you see the comments coming back. You refresh the screen every 10 seconds, it shows that there's another 400, 500 comments that come within seconds.
Yeah. There's actually a new social medium, and I can't remember the name of it, but you get on it whenever you're watching a television program. And then others who are watching the television program can talk to you about it, and you can talk to them, and the producers of the show are on there as well. And it's pretty remarkable because you can see, wow, there's 100,000 other people watching this show at the exact same time. Here's what they're thinking. Here's how they interpreted that last statement. Here's what the producers meant when they said that. It's all really interesting. It's just the power of social. Again, sharing. So how does social media work from a business perspective, typically? Well, people see content and or good or bad experiences. they share those online because, again, presumably they were remarkable in some way, shape, or form. Others see that conversation and they join in it. And then hopefully, if it's a good company, they actually engage in the conversation with the people talking about that experience or that content. That makes sense so far? This is an oversimplification, but it's probably the best way to talk about it. So how does social media work? Well, let's look at how marketing and media used to work in the past. And let's look at how word of mouth used to work in the past. Well, let's just go back 15 years. Now, I'm on a quest to find the best pad thai restaurant on the planet. It's a cross I have to bear. I absolutely love pad thai, so I'm always looking for the best pad thai restaurant. Everywhere I go, I try out the pad thai. And I think there are a lot of people that follow me because I do talk a lot about pad thai and where I've gone, what I've tried, where I liked it. So today, or 15 years ago, if I found the best pad thai restaurant, I may have told 2 or 3 people, hey, you've got to try out Joe's Pad Thai. It's the best in the planet. And they may or may not have shared that information with somebody else, but the reality of the matter is the message died very, very, very quickly. Even if they told somebody else, well, now it's through somebody who knows somebody. So it's not really that powerful. And what happened was there was absolutely no momentum because I only told 3 people, and they might have told another person or might not have. No momentum, no critical mass, so not very many people became aware of it. And there's absolutely no permanence. The message was fleeting. I said it, it's gone. Today, though, with the advent of social media, I may tweet or Facebook update about the best pad thai, and let's assume that I've got 1,000 fans or friends on those networks. Well, now 1,000 people have the chance to see that message. And if we assume that 1% of those people can identify with the message, and they forward it onto their networks. And maybe pad thai isn't the best example. Maybe, did anybody see the news yesterday that they've got a new contact lens that will broadcast your computer signal into your eye directly? So think about it. People at work now, you will no longer need a monitor. It will broadcast the signal right into your contact lens. Okay? That's remarkable. That's something that people are going to share. So let's assume that 1% of people, so I tweet about that, which I did. Let's assume 1% of people can identify it and send it to their networks because they find it absolutely fascinating. Well, you can see that it quickly gains momentum. I'm assuming that a lot of people find that interesting and forward it on. So it quickly gains momentum because the people that see it then are going to forward it on to their friends. It quickly achieves critical mass, and again, the more relevant, or the more remarkable the piece of content, the more it's going to be shared. So there are shades of gray. Best pad thai, well, there's going to be a certain number of people that are going to share that. Something remarkable like this, a computer monitor in your contact lens, that's pretty remarkable. An earthquake in California, wow, that hits the world instantaneously. So depending on the quality of the content, you can achieve critical mass much, much faster because the technology enables and facilitates better sharing of information. That's all it is. Again, social media is just the technology that allows for better sharing of information. But what's also really, really, really interesting is that these messages are online permanently. Google has said it's going to index every single tweet ever tweeted and put them online. So imagine one night you tweet something that you didn't really mean. Well, that is going to be online indefinitely, so you want to be careful about that. As a company, you want to be careful about what you tweet too, because you may have an issue with a client and tell that client off online. Well, that's going to be online for all to see thereafter. Now, you can make it more difficult to find that message, but competitors can also make it more obvious if they really wanted to. So be very, very careful about how you act online and how you respond. but those messages are online permanently. And this is especially powerful when it comes to experiences and reviews. Because there are so many places now where people can leave reviews of your company. Google Places or Google Maps, for example, Yelp. Those reviews, not only are they online permanently and associated with your brand, they often now appear in the search results for searches for your company name. Very, very, very powerful. And again, if they're good reviews, that's going to help. If they're bad reviews, not so much. And this leads to a little exercise, and this is an oversimplification, but a little exercise that I like to call social media mathematics, where we make some very, very basic assumptions. We assume that every person has 1,000 friends or fans when I tweet a message, or when they tweet a message, and only 1% of people retweet. Again, this is an oversimplification, so bear with me. First round, I tweet it, 1,000 people see it, and 10 retweet it. Second round, 11,000 people now have been exposed, and 110 have retweeted it. Third round, 111,000. Fourth round, 1.3 million. Again, there's a lot of assumptions here. The more remarkable the content, the more it's going to be retweeted. That's really the variable here, is the retweet rate. The more remarkable the content, the more it's going to be retweeted. A really remarkable piece of content is going to be retweeted a lot. Make sense? Yes?
There's another element. There's also the overlap, too, because, I mean, amongst all these individuals, you're probably going to see this message come through other avenues many times, because you'll have common friends and connections between, separate. You may get it from the first level, and then you might see it again from the third and fourth level.
Oh, yeah.
From so many people, right? So
absolutely.
It's that repeat exposure as well as just the expanded exposure.
Absolutely, yeah. You'll see it again and again. It's funny. Do you remember when we had the earthquake about a year and a half ago? 2 years ago? I remember as soon as I felt the earthquake, I could not get to Twitter fast enough because I wanted to be the first to tweet it. Well, there were tens of thousands of people who beat me to it. And this is what I do. And there are tens of thousands of people that beat me to it. But instantaneously, I found out, wow, they felt it as far south as Ohio. They felt it in Montreal and even east of Montreal. So I could tell the scope immediately. And it was really fascinating to see. Yes?
I just wanted to share a little comment about the earthquake.
Yeah.
I was working for the newspaper up in Fort Perry at the time. It was production day. The earth shook, and he said, "Stop the presses."
Exactly.
Front page changed.
But with Twitter, that information is shared. The news is shared instantaneously. Again, it's a form of content. So what sites are people using in terms of social media? Primarily, a lot of focus comes down to just a few. There are tens of thousands of different social networks. You don't have to worry about using tens of thousands of different social networks and setting up profiles on each of these. Focus on a few of the key ones that your clients or prospective clients are on. Facebook is a really big one, but Facebook doesn't work great for B2B in a lot of cases. Facebook is more people, individuals. They don't necessarily want to, talk about business online, personal stuff. So if you're a store that has deals for their home, curtains, stuff like that, absolutely, it's good to have a presence there. But B2B, maybe not so much. Email. Believe it or not, more sharing of content is done through email or through Facebook than through email. In fact, the first thing that women between the ages of 18 and 25 do upon waking in the morning? This is a study that I saw. 42% or 42 or 44% of women between the ages of 18 and 25, the first thing they do in the morning. Any thoughts? It's not go to the washroom. It's check their Facebook profile. What did I miss last night? What are my friends doing? Oh my God, who's going out with who? This is changing the way that we communicate. Twitter is another powerful one, with 11%. Now this was done a couple of years ago, so Twitter has picked up even more momentum. It's more powerful now. LinkedIn should be on here as well for B2B and professional. LinkedIn is very, very powerful if you're a B2B company, and if you're in sales, for example, if you're looking to expand your professional network. Again, very, very, very powerful. Okay, so a conceptual overview of the goals of social media. Again, oversimplification because there are an infinite number of goals, but I just want to keep this as simple as possible. First and foremost, it's to avoid reputation management issues. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that so that it makes sense for those who don't know what it means right now. Second is to generate fans. And third is to motivate those fans to take action. So first, let's get into avoid reputation management issues. This is the first goal. It has to be the first goal of social media. So know it or not, right now, marketing is in the midst of a revolution. In fact, marketing itself is changing fundamentally as we speak. The reason being social media and what social media does for word of mouth. In the old days, if you think about it, what's the first thing you think of when I say Maytag Man? What about reliability, dependability? Those are words that are thought of a lot. And the reason being, in the old days, mass media and repetition of a message, meaning big budgets, used to control what we thought about a brand, because we saw that message over and over and over again. The brands told us what to think about them. So the message that most of us got out of the Maytag advertising from 30 years ago was dependability, reliability. He's bored because he has nothing to fix. It's too dependable, it's too good. Today, however, that's changed, because today we can share our thoughts and opinions about a brand online, and collectively we determine the messages about that brand. So the message about a brand today is carried online through what we think about it on Twitter, through what we say about it in reviews. And we can look to see what everybody else has said and add to it. And in fact, before we buy a lot of things now, we go online to see what's being said about a brand. What's positive? What's negative? Do I want to really deal with this company? And let me give you an example. Is everybody familiar with this video? United Breaks Guitars? Okay, for those of you who aren't, write it down, and when you get back to your office today, definitely go to YouTube and check it out. It's a fantastic example of reputation management issues. So this is what happens to a company that believes it can that believes it can perform the way it did 20 years ago. So it's not adapting, or it didn't adapt to the realities of marketing today. What happened was a guy from the east coast of Canada, Dave Carroll, he was in a band and they were playing a gig in Wisconsin. They flew to Chicago O'Hare, had a layover in Chicago O'Hare, and as they're sitting on the tarmac, he looked out the window and he saw the grounds crew throwing around his $4,000 Taylor guitar. So not only had they had to physically take it out of the hard case that it was in. So when he got to Wisconsin, he opened up the hard case, looked at it, and the neck was broken off his guitar. So he went to United Airlines customer service and said, we've got a problem. Your grounds crew broke the neck of my guitar. I saw them do it on the tarmac in Chicago. And they did what they always do, and what so many large companies always did, deny responsibility. We didn't do it, can't prove it. So what Dave did, and what all of us can do now and are doing, is Dave wrote a song about it. Dave then put it to video, put it on YouTube. After about 1,000 views, United Airlines called Dave and said, Dave, we'll buy you a new guitar, just please take that video down. And Dave said, well, I went through too much now. I didn't get anywhere, so I'm going to leave it up. Well, as you can see, 10 million views later, and this actually got Dave on the circuit. He was on NBC, ABC, he was on lots of talk shows. What happened was this one video, because it got so popular and it told such a negative message about United Airlines, they lost 10% of the value of the company. 10% of the value of United Airlines. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. because of this one video. This is what reputation management is. This is what reputation management can do, poor reputation management can do to you. And this is why we all have to be aware of its potential. And does anybody remember a few years later, or actually maybe a year later, Air Canada flew a quadriplegic boy to New York City and broke his wheelchair. Well, he needed the wheelchair, and Air Canada's first response was they were denying responsibility. And then they thought about it. Whoa, look what happened to United Airlines. And they turned around and they said, okay, well, no, we're going to get it fixed. We're going to have it fixed for tomorrow for you. Imagine had United Airlines done that. Had United Airlines said, not only are we going to get you a new guitar, and we'll have you a new $4,000 Taylor guitar here tomorrow, or we'll fix it. Here are 2 free tickets to fly United Airlines anywhere you want to go in the future. It might have been a very different story that Dave Carroll was telling. It might have been a very different song that he wrote, a different video, very positive one. But they lost that opportunity. Now, what also is important to realize, yes?
What about, let's say, false reputation? In other words, you fight your competitor by saying bad things about them. Has the legal system caught up?
No.
Is this a problem?
It is a problem.
Because when I see rants
Yeah.
on these systems, they tend to look like rants and turn me off.
Yeah.
But if the people were smarter, they would probably write respectable looking information that says this company is failing or is no good or is hurting.
Absolutely.
Where do we stand as a small company that could be squashed like a bug really quickly?
The point's valid. So everybody has the ability now to leave reviews of your company, including your competitors. And unfortunately, the law hasn't caught up, and it does, and it can happen, and it does happen. In fact, we ourselves have some negative reviews from competitors, and there's nothing that we can do about it. All I can say is, please provide us with your invoice number, and if you don't, then I got to assume that you're not a real client, because I know exactly who it is. And but they're very good at it. This can happen. There's not a whole lot you can do about it yet. I'm hoping that the court systems will catch up at some point, but right now, no. So all you can try and do is get a whole lot more positive reviews, and to kind of wait it out. But we'll talk a little bit more about reviews in a little bit. But what I wanted to point out about reputation management is, in this case, the United Airlines example. So Dave Carroll posted this video. It got immensely successful and powerful. But what happened then? Every time somebody went to Google and typed in United Airlines, guess what the third listing was? It was the video, United Breaks Guitars. So that's very powerful, and this is part of the reason why United lost so much value, because every time somebody went to book a flight, go to Google, look for United Airlines, bam, there's that video. And of course, because it's a video, it's going to attract your attention. Immediately, a video on a page attracts your attention. There are also other sites out there that people can leave opinions and thoughts about your brand. Yelp is another example. People can leave negative, and it's very powerful. In fact, I think they're just doing they're going to do an IPO now, public offering, because they're doing so well. And these appear within the Google search results as well. Another one is Ripoff Report. Is anybody in here familiar with Ripoff Report? Yeah. Ripoff Report is a very, very, very powerful site. And if somebody leaves negative review about you on Ripoff Report, there's a good chance it's going to rank for your business name within Google. So again, very, very important and powerful. And here's an example of, so I was looking at an apartment company, Ralston Park Apartments. Typed it into Google, this is what came up. obviously their site, Ralston Park Apartments, first and foremost. But further down the page, on the right-hand side, the screenshot on the right-hand side, Ralston Park Apartments, rip-off report. So remember I said rip-off report is very powerful? There it is on the first page, that rip-off report, somebody claiming to be ripped off by Ralston Street Apartments. And they go into detail, when you click on it, about how they got ripped off, what they didn't like. And then also Google itself now adds to this because they allow people to leave reviews about your company. And you can see that at the bottom of the page. So 16 reviews, it's got a 3-star rating, and you can click on that to see each review and to see what people are saying about your brand. So it's important to try and manage that, to try and control that as much as possible. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Another thing that we're seeing happen now, which is really, really, really interesting, is, and this speaks to how we are evolving as searchers. When we're searching for stuff now, often we're going to search for the company name and reviews after. So before we buy from this company, we've got it to the point where we think we're going to buy from this company, we think we're going to rent an apartment from Ralston Street Apartments. Now we're conditioned enough, we've learned enough, that we type in Ralston Street Apartments, reviews. We want to see what's being said about it. Yes?
Isn't it true, though, that more people will write negative than a positive? So you're going to see just 1 or 2 negatives, but there could be 20 positives, but no one's done it.
No, it's actually kind of the reverse online. People are more inclined to write a positive than a negative because they don't want to be associated with the negative, for the foreseeable future because it's online indefinitely.
For them to write negative, I find that you got to make sure you look at that too. Because when people are really, really pissed off, it takes them a long while.
Oh, yeah.
Because they got to come up with their thoughts and make sure they're putting something that actually wouldn't reflect back on them. Because sometimes you can sue them. Big companies can sue them too. So
Yeah.
they have the money.
This is something that's going, in fact, I would encourage each of you when you get back to your offices, check your business and see if somebody has searched for your business name and reviews. Because if they have, they're very, very, very late in the buying process. They've already made the decision that they want to deal with you. They're looking for reasons now not to deal with your company. So this is the last step in the purchase process for them, really. So why do online reviews matter? Well, some research that I found from this year, March 2011, 62% of people read reviews online before purchasing. 62%. That's pretty powerful. 62% of those surveyed trust other people's opinions. Again, very, very powerful. It's that kind of collective message. What are people in general saying about this brand? And last, 58% of those surveyed trust opinions from people they know. And this is a point that I find really odd. We seem to trust the opinions, the collective opinions of others, more than we trust the opinions of people we know. That's pretty interesting. I know I've got some dear, dear friends, but I wouldn't take their advice on cars at all. Yes?
Yeah, this whole segment that you're talking about here is so very true. When I'm looking to purchase something, especially if it's a big ticket item, hardware, computer equipment, that kind of stuff, the first thing I actually do is when I'm searching online for that stuff, I actually look for the most negative reviews I can find.
Yeah.
I want to know what's the most negative thing people have to say about that product first.
Yeah.
And then I'll work backwards from there to judge, okay, there's people saying they didn't like this or this about that product, that feature, that function of it, but you know what? I think I can live with that element. I want to know what the worst possible scenario is with that, and then I'll decide from there.
Yeah. And to some extent, you can weed out which are real reviews and which aren't. TripAdvisor. Does everybody use TripAdvisor? Looking for a place to go in Mexico. So I'm looking at different resorts, and I'm seeing, people who have rented, a 3-star hotel or wanted to use or went to a 3-star resort, and they paid 3-star prices, yet they expected 5-star service. Well, automatically I can say, well, you went for $700, you're not going to get 5-star service. Or, after the hurricane that they had down there was a lot of reconstruction, so there were a lot of people complaining about reconstruction going on. Well, that's kind of a special situation. They had to reconstruct it, and they needed that business coming in when that happened. So you can weed through some of those reviews. Now, what the stats also say is 21% from this study, again, the March 2011 study, 21% said 2 bad reviews changed their mind about a potential purchase. So if there's 2 bad reviews about a company, 21% won't buy from that company. If there's 3, 37% said they wouldn't buy from that company. Now, obviously, these have to be realistic reviews. They can't just be bad company. You know, they've got to be a little bit more specific to make you believe it. But reviews are really, really powerful in terms of generating business. And this is why customer service is so important and the way that we handle these negative reviews. Now, fortunately, if you get 3 negative reviews, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And here's why. Another study, this is a different one, from January 2011, said that 68% of those who complained about a business were contacted by that business. 18% of those people who were contacted were so satisfied with responses that they bought more. Of those who received a response to their negative review, 33% turned around and posted a positive review. 34% deleted their negative review. That's fully, we changed or eliminated 67%, 2/3 of the negative reviews just by reaching out to that client and talking to them. And guess what social media is great at doing? Great at reaching out and forming that two-way communication, forging that two-way communication. Now, I've said this for a long time, and it's absolutely true. The fact that a problem exists, problems are going to exist in every company. And clients will realize problems at some point in time. And it doesn't matter, clients don't care so much about the fact that the problem happened. What they care about is how it was resolved. If you can resolve a problem or fix a problem in real time, I will argue that that client will be more loyal than they ever would have been had the problem not occurred in the first place. Because now they know worst case scenario. They know that you take it very, very, very seriously and you're going to fix the problem. What they don't know is how your competitors are going to react. How would your competitors work that hard to resolve the problem right away? Because problems do happen in all companies. So now it's almost, I would rather deal with the company that I had the problem with because I know that they're going to take it seriously and they're going to resolve it. Does that make sense? Okay, and it's not just online ratings and reviews where people can leave their thoughts and opinions. Obviously, and satisfaction or displeasure with your firm. They can do it through Twitter, they can do it through Facebook, they can do it through answers type sites. Is everybody familiar with answers type sites? So there are sites like answers.com, LinkedIn Answers, Yahoo Answers, where anybody can go and ask a question, and there's a whole bunch of people ready and willing to answer those questions. And of course, the more often you answer questions, and the more often you answer questions in a positive fashion and provide the best answer, the more powerful your profile becomes as an answerer of those questions. The more trusted you become. So in this case, here was a tweet that happened. For example, at JetBlue, so this is addressing JetBlue. I'm in Denver and want to check my bag, but there's nobody at the counter. What's wrong with this picture? Well, guess what? JetBlue responded instantaneously because they had somebody watching that. So some interesting stats from this. Over 58% of the tweeters who have tweeted about a bad experience have never received a response from the offending company. Now, part of that reason is up until just a couple of months ago, Twitter, we had to watch Twitter all the time in order to know when somebody was talking about our company. Today, if somebody mentions our profile, we'll get an email if we're the ones who set up the profile. So that's going to help us respond much faster. 55% of consumers expect a response the same day. So the JetBlue guy, he didn't expect a response immediately. He expected a response kind of that same day. But he got one immediately. His expectations were exceeded. Now he's happier than he was before because JetBlue is listening. And 43% of consumers say that companies should use social to solve clients' problems. Does anybody in here like going through the Rogers customer service line? You know, press 1 for English, press 2 for French. No, absolutely not. I would rather go to social media because I can save a whole lot of time. And for them, it works well too because they can do it in queue. It's easier for them to queue it rather than have people answering the phone and trying to limit how much time they spend on the phone. It's just easier, more efficient for them to do it via social media. Yes?
Okay, I'm trying to get my head around the practicality then of doing this managing, as you say, managing of the problem.
Yes.
The issues. Now, you pointed out that bad reviews can come from all kinds of places because there's so many different social media, right?
Yeah.
And you said that you should be watching and you should be responding. Now, my worry would be if there's 100 different places that bad things can come from, what do I watch? Can I get a summary off of Google, or how does it work?
No, that's a great point. And I'm actually going there, so just hold on. That's a great point. See, you read my mind. So how do you avoid reputation management issues? Well, the process is first, establish a listening strategy. Find out what's being said about you online. And there's a number of different ways to do this. The first is Radian 6, another good Canadian company based out of the East Coast. Actually, it was bought by Salesforce just recently. But Radian 6, it would listen to a whole bunch of different sources online and alert you whenever something was being said about your brand or about your competitors' brands. Whatever you wanted to monitor, it would alert you. Now, the thing about Radian 6 is it's really, really, really good, but it's also really, really, really expensive. So I think at minimum, you're looking at about $600 a month for Radian 6, and it goes up from there depending on the size of the company. Another option is Google Alerts. Everybody in here familiar with Google Alerts? Okay, Google Alerts is a tool that Google offers everybody free. Gratis. Oh, gratis. Absolutely free. Just go to Google Alerts. Well, you're going to need to set up a Google account of some sort for it first. But go to Google Alerts and then enter in the terms that you want it to track. I think I might have a screen in here for Google Alerts. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's a Google Alerts page. So go in there, up where it says Google Alerts and has the open field, type in what you want it to track. So make sure you've got your business name in there and different variations of your business name, if there are different variations of it. I would also put in your personal name. For me, I track Jeff Quip, Jeffrey Quip, because I want to know what people are saying about me as an individual. I also track other people within the company to see what's being said about them. We do this for some clients, and what we found is some of their employees are saying negative things about their companies. So we can't have that happening. As a company, you can't have your own people out there saying negative things about your company. And then also what you could track is your competitors' names. What's being said about your competitors in the marketplace? What can you learn from what's being said about them? You know, have they done something negative? Do they have a weakness in their system that you can exploit? This is all good information. So, and what Google does is Google watches across the web and it reports back. It sends you an email every time it finds a mention of one of the keywords that you've plugged in. And it gives you a link to that article so you can go and see it and understand the exact context. Or it may not be an article. It may just be a mention on Twitter. Now the weakness in Google Alerts is it's not instantaneous. It's free, which is fantastic, but it's generally time delayed. So you may get an alert 3 days later, not instantaneously. Whereas with Radian 6, you get an alert immediately. And the other option is TweetDeck and Hootsuite. And through TweetDeck and Hootsuite, here's an example of Hootsuite. You can plug in different terms that you want to track to see what people are saying about it, and they just appear as different columns. And you can do it for different accounts at the same time. So up top, you'll see I've got 2 accounts that I'm monitoring in this situation, JQuip and Search Engine People. By clicking on the Search Engine People one, I can be transported to all the terms that I'm tracking for Search Engine People. Now, again, it's not as good as Radian 6, but it's very, very, very inexpensive. I believe with Hootsuite, there's a, I can't recall now if there is a cost to Hootsuite or not, but it's a pretty good tool in any case. But it uses Twitter right now. It tracks Twitter. The problem with tracking stuff on Facebook is a closed social media. So Facebook doesn't give Google or a lot of other sites access to everything that's being tweeted because obviously it's very private. So it depends though on how well you set your privacy settings. There are hundreds of thousands of people, actually millions of people, who haven't properly set their Facebook settings on, or their privacy settings on Facebook. So we get full exposure to everything that they say. So I know when their mother's when their mother's sick. I know when they say something negative about the company that they work for. And that's not good. They need to be aware of that and close that security breach. Okay, the second thing is, so now let's assume that we find out through either Google Alerts or Radian 6 that somebody has said something negative about us. Now we've got to do something about it. So we've got to solve that issue. So first, we've got to look at it and say, is this person credible? Or is this a competitor? Is this somebody who's completely lost a screw? They're not credible in any way, shape, or form. We've got to look at stuff like that because not all issues need to be identified. For the resort that said, somebody complained because they didn't get 5-star service at a 3-star resort. Well, what's the resort to do about that? Kind of, in some cases, just leave it be. Also, gauge the credibility of the complaint. Is it real? Is it something that you can do something about or not? If you can't do something about it, then maybe it's just they're unrealistic. Continuing on, there are different options. So, do you want to consider legal? In most cases, I would say no, because that can really blow up on you. How do you want to resolve it? If you can resolve it, try and resolve it. Again, if you can solve a problem in real time, then clients will be more loyal than they ever would have been had it not occurred in the first place. So if you can solve it, then do try. And then other questions. There's an infinite number of questions to consider when going through this process. But again, use the philosophy that a client will be more loyal if they had a problem and you resolved it in real time than they would have been had the problem not occurred in the first place. So every problem is an opportunity. I want to point out some really innovative solutions. Dell has an absolutely brilliant concept that they call Idea Storm. And Dell's, and this is where all their customers, because they were having a lot of problems with customer service back in the day. In fact, there was I believe it was 2007, there was a really, really negative post called Dell Hell. That's what it's come to be known as. Research it online. So Dell had to do something about it. And the brilliant concept that they came up with was Idea Storm. And the idea is, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. So everybody who has a problem, they said, we're going to focus all this negativity on one site, and we don't want you coming to us with problems, we want you coming to us with solutions to your issues. So now you start to get buy-in. This is a well-known HR principle. If you can get your people to suggest the change, or changes that you have to make, they're going to buy into it. Other than you just trying to force that change on them, in which case they're going to resist because people don't like change. But if they initiate the change, then they're going to buy into it a lot more. That's Dell's concept. So it focuses all the negativity on one location. It says, come to us with a solution to your problem, not just a problem. And as a result, it takes them from a negative to a positive. And it gives you a lot of good ideas for how to improve your company, or how to improve their company. And here's what it looked like. So this is the Idea Storm site. You see, you can view all the suggestions posted. You can post your suggestions, your recommendations. You can vote on other ones that already exist. And you can see the ideas in action and where some of the ideas that have been suggested in the past have been implemented and how successful they are. Again, very, very powerful. What a great concept. Another case study, Lenovo, when they acquired IBM PC Computing Division, there was a whole lot of negativity being out there about them. And they had to do something about it. They wanted to do something about it because when we're buying PCs, a lot of us now will go to online and see, what's being said about this company, what's being said about this brand. So their solution was they built a peer-to-peer community, a community really, to gather and solicit input and improve the customer service experience. As a result, they 20% decrease in laptop service call volumes, an increase in customer service agent productivity. Just all in all, it was a win. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to have to move it along a little bit. One other case study, and this is used in a different way, but the problem was they needed to increase their site's conversion rates, cars.com. So what they did was they took ratings and reviews from across the net, and they put it online with each of the cars that they had on their site. So now people could see what others were thinking about those cars, that specific brand of car and model of car. And it increased their conversion rates by 16%. Again, very, very, very powerful. Okay, and the last thing is, if you've got a company that's more than just you, then you have to empower, enable everybody else within the company to also solve those problems quickly. In the United Airlines example, they didn't empower their customer service staff to actually solve the problem, to authorize getting him a new Taylor guitar. Imagine if they had, it would have changed their fortune, would have changed their luck. Might have been a great song written about United Airlines. But you've got to build these processes into the company philosophy. Okay, some other best practices. The quicker you respond, the better, obviously. If you respond in real time, that's the best situation. Use a name that identifies you as an individual, though from the company. Nobody wants to deal with a nameless, faceless corporation. If I go online and complain about Rogers, I don't want to deal with Rogers. I want to deal with a person. And Rogers has been very smart about this, and they have people now so they use their first name in association with Rogers. So it's Rogers Mary who I'm dealing with. Rogers Mary has a profile. She tells me what she likes, what she doesn't like. There's a big smiling face there. So I think I'm dealing with a real person, and in most cases I am. If possible, use the avatar of a real person. Again, ideally smiling. Begin by responding using their social media of choice. So if they complained on Twitter, respond on Twitter. And try and get them to take the issue offline. You don't want to air all that dirty laundry online because, again, it's going to be there for all to see. So connect with her. So if somebody's complaining on Twitter, connect with them on Twitter. Say, what number can I call you at to discuss this in more detail? Give them a call and try and resolve it offline. Obviously, attempt to manage their expectations. If you fail at managing their expectations again, you can bet that the review is going to, and the discussion is going to be even more negative. And finally, give those who have the potential within your company, who have the potential to solve a problem, the ability to do so and the power to do so. And the biggest threat, of course, is not participating, because these conversations are going on online, whether you like it or not. It's just whether you're there to help guide the conversation in the right direction. Okay, so goal number 2, attract fans. Now we're talking about using social media to attract fans. And you want to attract fans for a couple of reasons. One, because obviously fans are most likely to share good things about your company. Again, social media is word of mouth and enabled by technology. Fans are most likely to carry forward positive messages about your brand. but they're also more likely to buy. So how do we attract fans? Well, ultimately we have to give others something to talk about. So we've either got to give them a really great experience, a remarkable experience, or remarkable content. I'm going to argue it's really, really, really difficult to give people a remarkable experience. It may be possible to do it the first time, but as soon as your competitors figure out what you're doing, they're also going to offer the same remarkable experience, and then your experience no longer is remarkable. So it's very, very, very difficult to do. So what we're left with in a lot of cases, well, let me ask you this question. As a plumber, how do you offer a truly remarkable experience that nobody else can copy? Can anybody think of a way?
2 toilets, no waiting.
Yeah. It's very, very, very difficult to do. So what we're left to do is we have to create remarkable content. Yes?
I can think of it. It sort of stems from another company that I heard, and I can't remember, unfortunately, the name of the company. I haven't had the service myself, but there's a carpet company, I think, that comes in, and they actually wear little booties and stuff so they don't track dirt.
Yes.
A plumber could do the same thing. He would maybe just come in with booties that he puts on so it doesn't track dirty.
Exactly.
Just a bad comment. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the mattress delivery.
Yeah. McGee.
Sleep Country.
Sleep Country, thank you. But yeah, so that's the problem. It was a remarkable idea, but then everybody started doing it. So it's not a remarkable experience anymore because everybody's doing it. So we've got to think of another way to do it. And it's a more progressive way. We've got to get them to become fans of the content first. Once they become fans of the content, then we can work to make them fans of the brand. Okay, so as I said, there's 2 ways. Make them provide remarkable experiences or remarkable content. So an example of a remarkable experience, and here is an example. It could be a review online, or in this case, it's a question in Yahoo Answers, I believe. And it says, is it appropriate to give a gift to my apartment superintendent? I think that's a pretty positive story. He's obviously given this person a very positive, very remarkable experience. But as I said, we can't do that very often. And maybe in the case of an apartment building, yes, we can. But for plumbers, lawyers, most businesses, it's very, very difficult to do. So how do we create remarkable content? I want to give you an example of one piece of remarkable content that I think exemplifies what we're talking about. Has everybody heard of the Best Job in the World contest? Show of hands. Okay. This was a contest run by Queensland, Australia, the province of Queensland in Australia. And what they said was, we're looking for a caretaker for a tropical island, and we'll pay you 6 figures for 6 months to come and sit on our island, enjoy it, and just blog about your experiences here and how positive it is. Is there anybody that wouldn't want that job? Palm trees, sand, blue waters. Exactly. Well, 35,000 people submitted their job applications. 35,000. They got $400 million worth of free PR. And the impact was that while Australia tourism was down, Queensland tourism was up 50% or up 20%, and 50% of Australia trips now include a Queensland component. That's the definition of successful content. And that's really all it is. It's successful content. Of course, out of it, they're creating an experience, but it's a really remarkable piece of content. So how do we do that for our businesses, or any business for that matter? So now that we've got people being fans of the brand, or fans of our content, okay, how do we make them fans of the brand? Really? Probably the best way to do that is to get them talking. If we can get them talking and we can talk to them, we're going to migrate them along that continuum from being fans of the content to being fans of the brand. Because ultimately that's what makes them fans of the brand, is getting to know us. Once again, nobody wants to deal with a nameless, faceless corporation. They want to deal with people. They want to know that the people in this company care about them. And how do we do that? Through conversations. So a few different ways to do that. So now that we've got them being fans of the content, okay, so I want to make that clear. We brought them in, they're fans of the content. How do we make them fans of the brand? Again, by discussions, talking to them. How are we going to do that? Through answers type sites. So I said LinkedIn Answers, Yahoo Answers, Answers.com. There are lots of questions going on online, or in these answers type sites. Make yourself available to answer some of these questions. Communities. Either form your own community or participate in existing communities. And if people have questions, start to inject yourself. Direct them to the content on your site that you want them to see, but then start to engage them in a conversation. Talk to them. Let them get to know you a bit, what you stand for, why you're a good company to deal with. Also, tweeting and Facebooking. If people say, there were probably hundreds of thousands of people that said, wow, what a great contest for the island of Queensland. Well, Queensland could have reached out through Twitter and Facebook or through wherever these people left those comments and started to engage them in a conversation. Have you been there before? Would you like to take a poll? Lots of stuff like that. Just start to engage them in a conversation. And what's really interesting as well is once people become fans of the brand, they will protect it. So if negative stuff is being said about that brand in a community, the fans will often stand up and protect the brand. And what you'll find is the negative person will often be ejected from that community. So whoever's saying negative stuff about you will be ejected from that community by the fans of the brand. So as I said, get active on answers type sites if you can. So check if you're B2B, LinkedIn Answers, obviously. Is everybody familiar with LinkedIn Answers? It's gotten pretty powerful. So if you are in B2B, just check it out. There are ways to search to see what questions are being asked, what questions relevant to your business, obviously. Check out Yahoo Answers and Answers.com. I believe that those are less popular, typically. They're more B2C. So if you're in the B2C space, check it out. There might be a question asked every 2 years, every year, maybe every 6 months, maybe more frequently, but go on and just get a feel for it. Participate in a forum or a community. Again, this is the Tim Hortons one, and there's just kind of an interesting concept. They called it Every Cup. And basically what they wanted to do is get people to go onto this site and tell their story, a memorable story that they had while drinking a Tim Hortons coffee. Pretty simple idea, really. But wow, it was powerful. They had a lot of success with it. And I believe a lot of these stories later that came out in their television campaigns. But again, that's how they could engage you. That's how they could get you to start talking about them. They created a community, got you into this community, because you obviously came there and left comments, and then they could start to talk to you about it, which gives them the opportunity. Now they forged a relationship. And again, get active on social networks. So if people are on Twitter, if you've got fans of your company on Twitter, you can reach out to any of them and start talking to them now. Whereas, if they were just fans of your website before, they would come to your website, but you didn't really know who they were. Now, if you can get them to become fans of your brand on Twitter, you've got an opportunity to reach out to them and really start dialoguing with them. Does that help?
Okay, yeah. And you can do that either as your company or as you as an individual if you're talking.
Exactly.
Like both.
Yes. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Follow.
So, and how can you do this? Well, obviously, publish and promote good content there. Not just your own content, but great content that you find from around the web. Because we're all looking for great news about our industry. And if I consistently find great news about our industry on one particular person's profile, I'm going to follow that person because I know that I'm going to find great content there. And then once you get fans built up, get them talking to you. So fans built up on Twitter, for example, get them talking to you. And a few ways to do that are polls. Poll them. What does everybody think of this idea? Should it be red, white, yellow, green? Just get them talking. Contests and open-ended questions. We like to end every blog post with a question, hoping that people will start to comment beneath. And when they do comment, now we've got a chance to engage them in a conversation. A lot of our tweets end with questions for that same reason. It's easier to carry on a conversation on Facebook or Twitter than, obviously, through a blog. But we still like to try and get people talking through the blog if possible. But that's one of the benefits of Twitter, really, and Facebook, is it's easier to start a conversation. There's lots of tools to provide, to pull in polls and to use polls and contests and that sort of thing. So use whatever is at your disposal. And now we've got fans, so we've created great content. We got a whole bunch of fans as a result of the content. We've migrated them to become fans of the brand. And sometimes you don't even have to engage them in a conversation to get them to become fans of the brand. It's just if you publish enough great content, they will become fans of the brand automatically. But now, what are we going to do with all these fans? Well, we want to motivate them to take action. And there's different types of actions that we want them to take. Somebody asked the question earlier about reviews. How do we get people to provide reviews? Well, we've got to know who the fans are first so that we can reach out to them and try and get them to leave positive reviews. So that's one of the actions that we want, is leave positive reviews for us. We know, through this discussion or through this presentation today, how powerful review type sites are, and positive reviews and negative reviews. So try and get a lot of positive reviews about your brand. Get your fans to leave positive reviews. Get them to recommend your company. Again, word of mouth. So if somebody out there on the web says, I'm coming to Toronto, I'm looking for a good hotel. Ideally, there would be a fan of your brand, as let's say Monte Carlo Inns, to go out to respond to this person, who's a friend of this person, and say, when you go to Toronto, you've got to try Monte Carlo Inns. I had a great experience there. And it means much more coming from an impartial third party than it does from the brand itself. So the more fans you've got, the more people you've got promoting your name out there. Does that make sense? There's more people to share your company content. So again, I said we've got to create really remarkable content. Well, the more fans we've got, the more people are going to see it, the more people are going to share it. It's a simple numbers game. So the more great content, the more fans we've got, the more people are going to see the content that we create. Because when we create, let's say, a remarkable piece of content on our blog, we automatically post it to our Twitter profile. All of our fans on Twitter, or at least a large percentage of our fans on Twitter, will see this. If they like it, then they're going to share it. So the more people that see this remarkable piece of content, the more people will share it, the more popular it becomes, leading to more fans. Yes?
Is there a tool that you recommend, and I haven't done it, so I'm just not aware, but to link all your post at once that goes through them all?
There's not a single tool. We use a bunch of different tools to link them all together, but within Twitter, within LinkedIn, there's a button just to say that says, include it on LinkedIn whenever you do this. I can find out for you if there is a new tool that shares it across all the mechanisms. Just talk to me after and I'll find out for you. Also, as I said, fans protect your company from positive reviews. So if there is a negative review left about you, get your fans to go on and start to question the validity of that negative review. It's much more believable if it's coming from somebody else, from a fan, rather than from the company itself. Yes?
You said get your fans to do that in a positive way.
Ask them to, yeah.
So, off-site from from the actual media, you would ask your, maybe with email or whatever, ask your fans, because I get those kind of emails all the time, saying, you know, please give us a, what do you call it, thumbs up, like.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a letter writing campaign.
There's different ways to do it. If you've built a community and you own the community, then obviously you can state on there somewhere that there's been a negative review left about us. Do you feel this way about us? And are you willing to do anything about it? Or you could, in a newsletter, say, there's been a negative review left about us.
But that could be, even if you didn't know it. Right?
Yep.
You could leave it as a post.
Yep.
Okay.
The idea is just to, if they're fans of your brand, they don't want to see it talked about negatively. So hopefully they're going to feel compelled to. So if you make them aware of it, hopefully, you don't necessarily even have to ask them. If you make them aware of it in some cases, you got to feel out the situation. But in some cases, yeah, they'll defend you regardless, without you asking them to defend it.
It's like hardcore Leaf fans.
So after last night, I'm back there again. I'm up and down.
Wait until the next game.
Yeah, wait until the next. Yeah, they're going to play a last place team and they're going to lose. But all the good teams they seem to do well against. Or you can inspire them to purchase too. Give one of the things that we like to do as fans, we give special deals to. So if they're a fan of the brand, we publish special deals only to the fans of the brand. So they get special deals, access to special initiatives. They're the first to beta stuff with us. So you treat them special.
How do you define it as fan of the brand?
Because they like us on Facebook, they like us on Twitter.
Okay, so it's just your choice that you give them this deal.
Yep. Well, they're following us for a reason.
But they must know they're a fan.
Yeah.
But you tell them they're a fan because they...
No, we make an assumption. If they're following us on Twitter, they're doing it for a reason, so they must be a fan.
Okay.
So it's an assumption. But we're rewarding them for following us on Twitter or on Facebook. Yeah. And different techniques for getting them to take the desired action, ask them. You can also do contests. If you can respond to 5 people, we'll give you Leaf tickets. Give individual rewards. I know any time that we have a client that refers a lead to us, we usually give them a pretty nice gift of some sort to say, thank you. I think a lot of businesses probably do that intuitively. And positive reinforcement. So making sure that you thank them when they do defend your brand or they do recommend you to somebody else. Make sure that you thank them in some way, shape, or form. So just a review. Again, in an hour, there's only so much we can cover about social media. Social media is a massive topic. It really is. There's only a very limited amount that I can cover. But in summary, prevent reputation management problems because that can sink a company. And going forward, this is just going to become more and more powerful as more of us go to the web and leave negative reviews. Give others something to talk about, either remarkable experiences, and I would always say try and offer remarkable experiences, but also remarkable content. So always add new content to your site. And there's lots of different forms of content that you can add. It doesn't just have to be a blog post. It could be a video. It could be an image, a remarkable image. Down at the waterfront a few years ago, I was driving along and I saw snowballs, thousands and thousands of snowballs in the parkland at the waterfront. And some of them had turned into donuts. So they were hollow in the middle and I could see right through them. So I snapped a picture and I put it up on a client site. And it went hot on Dig and Reddit, which are some other social sites. meaning it drove hundreds of thousands of visitors through to this website. So it's, something as simple as a photo. And what had happened was the temperature was just right. It was hovering about 0. There were very, very high, this is in the winter, there were very, very high winds. The winds would grab imperfections in the snow and start to roll them into snowballs. Well, in some cases, it rolled them so fast that it was hollow in the middle, so because the snow was sticky. So we call them snow donuts. And again, something as simple as that. That was a really remarkable picture, phenomenon, and it did really well. So content doesn't always have to be text. It could be lots of different things. Again, engage people in conversation and help them become fans of your brand. They're going to be much more likely to become fans of your brand if they get a chance to talk to you or talk to people within the company, and then activate those fans to take action. In a nutshell, that's it. So some of the must-dos: set up listening tools. So when you get back to your office, set up the Google Alerts. Absolutely set up the Google Alerts. And again, you're going to set it up on your brand, different variations of your brand, your name, key employees' names, and competitors' names, because you want to know what's being said about all of them. Establish processes for quickly addressing the issues found. If the company is more than you, then you're going to want to empower people internally to be able to do that. Publish good quality content. So start thinking about what type of content you're going to publish. Are you going to publish it on your blog? How are you going to publish this content? Again, get positive reviews. So try and get your fans of your brand to leave positive reviews. And engage on Twitter, Facebook, maybe YouTube, LinkedIn if you're B2B. And at least start with these. You don't have to, go out to thousands of different sites. Just these are the main ones. What you should do, again, offer a remarkable product or service. I only say should do. It really is a must do. But the problem is, again, what I talked about earlier, if you do, come out with something new like booties for your shoes, everybody else is going to copy that in a relatively short time. So it doesn't remain remarkable for a long period of time. And then some things that you should trial are participate in the answers type sites. So watch LinkedIn Answers. So trial it. Go to LinkedIn Answers, see what's being said, get involved, start answering questions. See if it works for you. Participate in industry communities. Are there communities where you can start to invest some time and see a return? And really, it's about ROI as well. Are you going to get ROI for putting in that time? And in a lot of cases, no, you're not. Like I've got a lot of competitors that talk about the power of social media and how much business they get from social media. Well, the reality is it's not a good payback if you're expecting to generate a whole lot of business through just Twitter and Facebook. In the time that they're adding, one client, we're adding 20 through other means, because social is just part of the mix, the marketing mix. It's not the entire mix. So be very wary of how much time you invest in Twitter, Facebook, because it can be a sinkhole. You can lose a whole lot of time unnecessarily on Twitter and Facebook. Consider establishing a community. Again, that's a big time commitment, but it might be something to consider for a brand. And also a blog. Now, a blog is a commitment because you do have to blog. If you load a blog to your site, you do have to blog. But that's a forum now for you to publish really good content. And I'll give you a tip for ways to find really good content. Go to Google News every morning. Do a search on Google News for your industry, keywords relating to your industry. And we call it just-in-time blogging. But essentially, so the article that one of the articles I found, and what you want to do is relate the news of the day to your business. So, for example, that piece that I found yesterday about the contact lenses and the computer monitor in the contact lens. Well, think about, so I'm looking at it thinking, okay, how does this apply to our clients? Well, CAA. Wow, this could pose some problems for driving in the future. If you've got, your computer screen is always on your contact lens. I mean, maybe you're looking at the computer while you're driving. For personal injury lawyers, could lead to a lot different types of charges in the future, or accident liabilities in the future. And just apply it to whatever business you're in. See if you can find ways to apply it. Or if an earthquake happens, what's it going to do to your industry? So not even here, if an earthquake happens in Japan or whatever, is that going to increase commodity prices? In which case, the prices in your industry are going to increase. So think about stuff like that. So that's it in a nutshell. I can stay and answer questions for a few minutes, but again, keep in mind, social media is a really big topic, but in a nutshell, it's word of mouth enabled by technology. So if you can get people talking about your brand positively, and if you can engage people in conversation to, become fans of your brand, that's social media. The technologies themselves, the sites themselves, they're just the mechanism through which this is happening. It's same old marketing practices. Really, word of mouth has always been the best form of advertising for a small business. So really, all that's changed is the mechanisms through which it's happening. So take advantage of that. And that's it. So thank you.